Hi guys, welcome back to Abundance of Lovely. Abundance is filled to overflowing and lovely is what we are filled with, and that is love. Today I'm going to take you behind the scenes on another one of my posts. Now this is not a fully fledged post. I only have a topic or a theme on my mind and I want to explore it. I know what the title for the post is going to be, and that is the Juxtaposition of Joy. I've written a poem about this and it has been on my mind in recent times. In the lead up to Christmas here in Australia, there was a shooting and it was a really hostile activity. It's something that really is divisive, and at that same time, I was at a wedding celebrating, and it made me go, there can be two truths, two coexisting realities where one can be weeping and one can be rejoicing. And how do we navigate those dualities in life, those juxtapositions? And we just see it all around us. We see the tensions and the differences in lifestyles, in timelines, etc., etc. So many of the Christmas carols also speak of joy. They speak of joy to the world, great tidings of comfort and joy. And so it just made me go, look, there is a real juxtaposition to the joy that we can experience this side of eternity. And I really want to explore that. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I have started to do a little bit of a topic brainstorm. So I put down everything that I can think of around this topic. There's kind of two elements to it so far. There is the juxtaposition element, which is exploring the tensions that do exist. And I thought of the yin and yang symbolism from Chinese philosophy because that is a perfect example of the contrasting forces that may be present in this world. But there are so many other examples. I think it's important to explore the tensions because it then allows me to explore the juxtaposition when it comes to joy. So joy and despair, joy and sorrow. And I was thinking about joy and how those two things can coexist. It's how can joy still withstand our circumstances and not be contingent on the things around us. I'm not sure yet where I'm going to take this post, but I do know I have some questions that I want to at least flesh out, and I'm hoping that I can flesh them out in this post. I know what I don't want to do is try and do a contrast of joy and happiness. That's not really what this post is about. This post is about, okay, well, how can joy be understood in light of the tensions of life, in light of the conflicts, the dualities that we see in the world around us? We know that God created both light and dark, and so where does things like joy fit into the dualities and the boundaries of the created world? Another question I have is, how can I hold on to joy despite the turbulence of life? I want to be able to rejoice with my brother and sister when they are in a season of joy, even though I myself might not be in the same season. So how can I navigate joy in a coexisting truth where my reality might not have the rejoicing yet? I might be waiting on a prayer. I might be waiting on a miracle. It's something that's really personally driven for me at the moment, and I want to understand it so that I can dwell and remain in joy better. I also want to understand, how can joy's existence shape all of those other coexisting forces in our life? A lot of forces are out there to steal, to kill, and to destroy. There's sayings like comparison is the thief of joy, and I just want to explore how joy cannot be subject to these things. I do believe that joy, true joy, it's not contingent on the here and now. It's far beyond what we could even comprehend. And so I want to understand that joy so that we can hold on to it and we can move forward with joy and be able to be merry in a season where we are saying Merry Christmas. Let us be merry. Let us find what is the true delight of our hearts and what allows us to enjoy this life that we have been given. So let's see how I go. I have a lot of tangential thoughts and I will try and bring it all together. Just made a discovery in my notes app, so I looked up joy and I only have 8 entries of joy, and that's quotes and poems. 8 mentions. We're talking over 1,000 different notes that I have, and I only have 8 on joy. This is a problem. I don't think I dwell enough on this topic, and so I think for next year this is something I want to focus on a bit more and bring to the blog, this real investigation and exploration of joy. So this is going to be interesting for this post because I don't have much in my pre-existing reflections on joy, so it's going to be new insights I'm going to have to discover on this journey for this post. Okay, the good news is I have just been able to finish off the blog. I have spent many days tweaking and trying to flesh out my ideas, and I'm happy with where it currently is. I know that I could continue growing my blogs, but I want to keep them more succinct, and that is something that I'm going to try and do in 2026. And so I'm currently at 3,500 words, which is around a 19-minute read time, and I think that's realistic, so I'm going to leave it there. And I've covered off the main things that I wanted to cover off. Of course, there is always going to be more I could cover, but I've looked at the juxtaposing nature of our reality. I've looked at the seasonal nature to our reality. I've looked at how God designed seasons of creation and the seasonal nature being a pattern of his provision. I've then looked at where joy fits into those seasons and into the juxtaposition. And I've then looked at the end at how we choose joy and how joy is a choice. In that, I then kind of come back around to, well, what do we do with the juxtapositions then? How do we understand joy? And I've used a lot of biblical references in here because that really brings light to this subject of joy. And I personally have learned a lot by just doing all of this research, and it's reminded me of where true joy is found and why in my seasons of lacking joy, or those seasons where joy hasn't run deep in my bones, why those have been seasons of drought and lack. And God is very clear that he is the provider of joy. He is the provider of all things. And it's when we come into his presence and when we dwell and we abide in him that we are able to experience the fullness of these things. And so seasons that are absences of joy are seasons where we probably have an absence of him. That's just the reality. The final quotes that I found, I had to do some digging in my notes app. I managed to find some more references when I searched enjoy. And so I found classic, the Westminster Shorter Catechism, that the chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. That is a classic, and it is perfect for this post, and it just brings everything together perfectly. And C.S. Lewis echoes something very, very similar. And I found a few other quotes that I've included at the end, and I think it all just wraps it up really nicely. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you enjoy this vlog and blog, and stay tuned for more behind the scenes on Abundance of Lovely soon.